Welcome back, guys, to the weekly recap show. This week we have got myself.
Gosh dang it, Hunter. Well, at least Zach and I don't have to do something this week. Hi, Hunter.
Hi, Hunter.
Hunter, we're in the middle of the weekly recap. Fuck, I'm leaving that in too.
That was great. 10 out of 10.
Oh
10
man,
out of 10.
well,
That's
guys,
better than anything we've ever done.
welcome back to the weekly recap show. We are, damn it. We're back with myself. We've got Jacob, our DM, and we've got Zach, who is hosting. He's got the questions, he's got the conversation for us, and this is a long episode. We went for a full 4 hours. It's been a while since we've done that. We just had a lot happen. So to start it off, basically, what happened last week was we went to the Platinum Dragon's Sanctuary, and basically Zygon's wife kind of like had us, or took us there, and we figured out the Dragon Child probably needs to be within their realm, within the Sanctuary, to make sure that they grow up good and not evil. We also figured out a little bit about the Five, and also the Calamity, the second Calamity that is coming. And the Dragon Child's part of the second Calamity, and all that kind of stuff. So go back and watch the recap last week if you want to know all about that. But this week, we were told to go to the Raven's Crest, which is the Temple of the Ravenqueen in Vasselheim. And that is where we're heading right now to kind of figure out a couple questions that we still have that we need to kind of figure out. So where we started off with this episode was myself, Animas, walking into a pool of blood in the Raven's Crest and accepting the pool of bloodness to grab me and take me down and go face to face with the Ravenqueen, have a conversation with her. And I think basically, I didn't write it all down because I didn't have time, but I'm gonna write them down later. The basics of that conversation, because we have a lot to get through, are that I asked her if my parents are alive, and she kind of told me she can't tell me those kind of things. So I stuck with very basic questions. I apologized and tried to kind of like talk to her about my past, because Animas, when he was in Shadowfell, prayed to the Ravenqueen until he was about 3 years old with his parents, and then after that he was taken in by the Warlock and started praying to Osmodius, or worshipping Osmodius. So he left the Ravenqueen, and then when he got to the material plane, he gave up worshipping anything overall. So that was his first thing that he talked to her about. Then he moved into kind of asking questions about the Ascension. How does a mortal ascend into a human? And if you kill one of these world souls that are part of the Calamity, will you be a few steps away from being able to ascend? Both those answers came back as no, it is not that easy to ascend, and nobody in this world is close to ascending into lower deityhood. Overall, it's godhood. If you understand D&D, it's kind of hard to explain, because god levels work like there's a level 6 through level 10, that's the lower deities. You've got the level 11 through level 15, those are like the I forget what they are, and then there's like a level 16 through level 18/19. Level 19 and 20 are over gods. They are just like the gods of the universe. Like they never come into D&D because they're too powerful. What we're looking at is someone who ascended into lower deityhood, which is Vecna. He is the person that we're kind of like looking into, because he was able to ascend into a deity, but it wasn't the same way that we're looking at with the world souls and everything. I believe that was kind of it. Jacob, was there anything else that I talked to her about that was major? I don't think there was.
I don't recall if there was. No.
Also, no, I think that's it, honestly. If there's anything else that I remember, I'll talk about it later. But basically, yeah, I just got a couple questions. Oh, and the time that it's supposed to happen is 3 months. So we have about 3 months until there is a solar eclipse. When a solar eclipse happens, the 5 are able to actually kill a world soul because the planar walls is kind of what we call them. The space between planes will thin enough for them to be able to kind of like get through that and kill a world soul. So we have a 3-month timeline now. It's a little scary. 3 months is not that much time, so we're kind of.
But just to be clear, it's not a 3-month timeline for us in real world. It
No.
could be a month. It could be
a
a year. It could be 5 years. Who knows?
Hopefully not 5 years. We will probably get it done.
We're hoping by Christmas. We're hoping a Christmas present to me is that I finally get to rest and stop hearing voices in my head.
Yeah. Yep. Jacob will stop hearing the millions of NPCs that he's created in his head, and he will pass that over to possibly me. But
who knows?
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens this next year. So after we got that time limit, we moved over to the fact that kind of our group decided, let's go ahead and do a 2-day kind of split up and kind of like explain what we're going to do in 2 days. So basically we did a classic D&D split up. We had a couple people go here, there, and wherever, and focused on their story. And basically this 2 days is kind of just getting prepared, and for some people it's relaxing, for some people it's getting some loose ends tied up, trying to figure out some stuff before we all come back together and really get into trying to stop the calamity. Because once we start that adventure, it is going to be really hard to have any downtime or any enjoyment, character-wise at least. Like, we're still going to enjoy the story, of course. First group was Lochnar, Anzu, and Thea. They went out searching for Lochnar's, this person that Lochnar is supposed to find. And they end up finding Sheldon. If you guys don't know Sheldon, he is part of a one-shot that Michael did a little while back. And I'm still uploading some of those. I've gotten really behind on that one just because of this year's been crazy, of course. So, but you can go see Sheldon back in a couple of the first episodes for the new Onoa one-shot we did. This is Sheldon's great-great-great-grandson, so Sheldon the Fourth. And that is who Lochnar finds. He is now supposed to kind of follow him, or not follow him, but take his advice and go find the temple that he's part of. And Sheldon's going to kind of lead him into that and hopefully become a drunken monk? Drunken master monk, yes. After that, Lochnar and Sheldon go off and they have a night of drinking and debauchery. Not with each other, but with other people or creatures in D&D, but not with each other. Just to clarify, because Lochnar got upset about that whenever Jacob also said that same thing. Then we've got Anzu and Thea. They went and had a nice dinner with like really expensive wine, expensive steak. That was pretty much it. I don't think there's too much important that happened at the dinner. I think they just had a nice dinner. Then Braun, he took his child, the dragon child, and kind of had a one more like night or day where they walked around and they explored and they had some fun together. And Braun had to have the hard conversation to say, hey, I'm gonna have to leave you in the sanctuary because we need you to grow up as a good person. We need you to learn under them. And where we're going, like, you're a strong dragon child, but where we're going, some of these things could actually overpower you, even though you have a lot of power. So that was kind of the conversation he had with them. And now they're a little bit upset, but he was able to get through to them. And we'll kind of see how that relationship goes going in the future. And then the last thing that happened was myself and Zygon went to the bar, and we decided we need to go back to this fortune teller for a couple questions. And we also decided let's go back to Whitestone. And Whitestone is something that, if you guys have seen our really early episodes, it was our in-person episodes. So while we were playing at a table and all that, we were in Whitestone. It was our first few episodes of this campaign, or of the online, what you guys have seen. honestly, it was our first major city of our campaign. We only played in Drina for like a month or so before that. But yeah, we went back to the fortune teller first, and he told me my past. Basically, I asked him what happened the day I got sent back to the material plane, and he said there were 6 others that he saw. So I'm assuming there's 6 people in my past that I need to try to recognize that are the world souls, and we don't know who they are. I have a couple ideas, but we don't fully know. Zygon got a glimpse of the future, and he asked him for some future. I forget what did he see, Jacob? I don't fully remember that.
Not a lot. He didn't really see much.
Yeah, it wasn't like a big thing. I remember that. The guy was tired. We got a little bit from him, but let me see if I wrote something down there. The demon. So Zygon asked where the demon was. He asked to see the future, where the demon was. Basically, we fortune tellers saw the demon near Snowy Mountains. So the demon, which is part of the 5 that are watching us, is near Snowy Mountains. After that,
which is incredibly vague.
Very vague. It narrows it down. It narrows it
down to 5 different regions.
It does.
Woohoo!
It narrows it down to about 25 to 30% of the entire.
It's basically not Amon.
Yeah, it's not Amon, and it's not anything in the middle. It's either
it
far
could be
south,
near Eastern.
Far south or far north is basically what we've got. All right, so we go to Whitestone. When we arrive in Whitestone, by the way we got to Whitestone, Animas opened up a 6th level spell that is called Travel Via Plants. He is able to open a portal between a plant that he sees currently and a plant he's seen before. So we go back to Whitestone, and in Whitestone we are coming into a kind of industrial-ish era. In the past year they've been able to use the money from the mine, which is the reason we're there. We're trying to get our mine ownership back. Use the money from the mine, and they've built up the palace. They've built up tracks. They've built up a train. They've gotten street lights. They've had the main road turned to cobblestone. It's very developed now, and now we're heading up to Vesper's castle / mansion, and we head up there, and they basically, she says she only wants to see Zygon. So Animus goes off. He goes back to some really old characters that we all just kind of wanted to see. The Meat Man. He was I think he was pre-streaming basically, but if you guys missed it, the Meat Man's in this episode. Go check him out. Also, in an orphanage, we dropped off a baby that we saved pre-streaming as well, and I checked on this baby. Basically, I heard back that the child was in good hands and doing well. And then I also believe I just bought some more halfling weed. I think that was it. And then headed back. But Zygon was the real deal. He went in and he talked to Vesper. We have thought that Vesper has been in some sort of government coup. We don't know if she's part of it, but this was our time to learn. So first Zygon went down and talked to Frederick. Frederick kind of just told him all these things he's creating and that it's cool to see him, and he was the one who's creating the train.
It wasn't Frederick, it was Percival.
Percival, sorry, my bad. That's my bad.
I'm
gonna keep you honest.
I know. Percival, he's the one creating the train tracks. He's the one doing all the kind of like the work, and he's the forefront. He's creating a new armor, all that kind of stuff. And then Zygon goes up and he starts talking to what we're officially calling Red Suit Vilma. If you guys have seen Scooby-Doo 2, it's kind of that moment where Vilma wears the red suit. She's not Vilma.
It's full red leather. It's like
yeah.
It's more like orange leather.
So Vesper is not wearing her normal hunting clothes anymore. She is wearing a tight leather, like orangey red colored leather suit.
It's still leather armor.
It's still armor. It's like anime armor though. So
Yeah, it's more stylized.
yeah.
I would say.
Immediately
She's
she wants
trying to imitate the more society-based people because Whitestone is so isolated.
yeah. So she wants to immediately get down to pleasure with
Did you just hear
Zygon.
that? Caleb did not believe me when I just said that. Did you just hear that? Yeah.
I heard you. I believe
Yeah,
you.
you were like, yeah, whatever,
I
man.
don't know. We'll get into that. So Zygon has a conversation with her. She wants to get into pleasure right away. Zygon's like, no, I've had a wife and kids. He didn't say that, but he fast talks his way out of it, as Zygon does. Then they get into some conversation. First conversation is about the mine. He's like, hey, we got cut out of the ownership. Then what we'll talk about this. Vesper tells Zygon, hey, Animas apparently said that he's the only one who owns the mine, and he sent letters, and he's the only one on the contract, and all this stuff. But something that I brought up, and I actually made sure I wasn't metagaming with Jacob beforehand. This was a moment. Way back when we had the mine ownership, Zygon asked Animus specifically for the original copy of the receipt and contract that we signed with the dwarves. So he had the original copy, knowing me and him split a 30-30 on the mine, 30%, 30%, and then the dwarves got 40%. So he had all that written down. He pulled that out and kind of like called her out right there and then. And either she's behind it or someone else is behind it. And then they kind of got some talk in about how she's heading out to Western. She requested first that me and him come back to her and talk together with her in the future in a few weeks. But she's heading out to Western to discuss the finalization of the contracts. We also know Mathis will be there, and we're thinking that's a bad idea because Western, we know, has been taken over government-wise, and we know that Vesper is either completely trying to pull a fast one on us and is against us and is part of this whole coup, or she's being double-crossed and they're both walking into a trap. So basically we're going to try to get Mathis not to go to Western, but we'll see how that works.
He's already there. He left.
We're going to try to get him to leave Western, and we'll see how that works. But yeah, some sketchy stuff with Vesper. Zygon came back and talked to me. We were able to kind of demon boys it out, you know. We kind of talked about it. We're like, okay, there's something weird going on here. It's either she's the one who's doing it, or there's some middleman who's doing it. Because there was a lot of forged documents that apparently had no signatures and stuff.
Neat man.
Ooh.
There's a lot
That's the twist.
Forged documents with my names on it, and so the last thing that happened, Daryl, also pre-stream. Daryl was one of the greatest characters Zygon's ever known in this campaign.
I think it's his favorite by far.
It's a bartender that he met, and basically him and Zygon have a very similar backstory. They've got a family. They've both got a daughter. They wrote it out when they met the first time. I think, so me and him both walked to his bar, had a drink, kind of talked it out. We're like, okay, we need to get back to the group. Then we both realized we had a globestone, so we both teleported back to the group. And we teleported right in on Anzu and Thea's dinner. So that's where we ended it off. That was a long recap, but I think it was necessary. This was a long episode, yeah.
There was a lot in it.
It was a very good episode. I enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you, Zach. I like to hear that from our fans.
That's why I'm here.
To represent all of our fans, Zach.
Yep.
All
if you guys need, if you guys disagree with anything, it goes on Zach. So.
Hey, ho, ho, whoa, whoa.
It's Zach's fault. What's your frustration with Zach?
All right, let's jump into some conversation. We don't have a lot of people, or we don't have any of the players here tonight other than myself. So, we can't ask any of them, but we will hopefully get some input on them as things get drawn out in the future. So, let's jump into some conversation, Zach.
I think Jacob can kind of answer this. The little, was it a tiefling that was kind of flirting with the
it's
at the restaurant?
A blue tiefling at the restaurant, the waitress, yeah.
You want to go in a little bit more detail about that, maybe?
So Abby and I, when we were creating Thea, Abby, um, if I'm remembering correctly, and if I mischaracterize anything, I'm sure she will correct me eventually. Um, but Abby wanted Thea to kind of be more open, um, when it came to like sexually. I think Thea identifies as bisexual. I'm not sure. Again,
Technically,
you'd
in
ask
D&D, it would be pansexual just overall because of the amount of different races and creatures that are in
Well,
it. It's
well,
like
you're all
almost,
humanoids.
yeah.
That'd be like, I
It's
don't know.
weird.
That'd
It's
be like
weird. It's
saying,
weird. It's bisexual. Let's just call it that.
yeah, I would say, yeah, because like they're all humanoids. They all have the same genitals.
Yeah.
Unless you're like a kinku or a portal or
Tabaxi.
you know
Yeah. If you're one of the
more
actual,
humanoid,
one of
the
the
more
actual
humanoid
aminals,
races,
animals.
animals races. But yeah,
Anonymous.
so I noticed that Thea wasn't really digging Broder, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll offer up something different
I don't
here.
know if it's Thea. I don't
So
know if it was Thea's fault. Broder was being.
Broder's kind of oblivious,
He's a
man.
blockhead.
He really is, but he's a good bro. He you know he sticks up for his bros, and he'll be there whenever you need him. Um, but
Thea wasn't
yeah,
bro enough.
so I figure this character will become more interesting. I'm interested to see how Thea kind of learns about her because like she doesn't even know her name right now.
To also
Um,
say, way back when we first started, Abby and her really good, well, all of our pretty good friends, Canal, she played with us. She before Michael came, and she was a tiefling, and they started off having their
they
characters.
were planning on being a couple, yeah.
And so
I don't even know if you know that, Zach,
yeah,
but
I do
yeah,
now.
yeah.
yeah,
So
now
they
you
were
do.
planning on it. So this is kind of a
It's
throwback.
kind of been there for a
Yeah,
while, yeah. And I think I don't remember what color Canel's tiefling was. I want to say
purple.
red or purple.
I have an old sheet of hers, but we don't need to look at. If we go
Anyway,
back
that's
into it later.
you can add an editor's note. You can like this will be where you cut in. You're like she was
No,
actually
we'll talk
green.
about it.
That
We'll
guy.
probably have some sort of conversation about it in the future. We
I
might
don't
try to
know.
get
We'll see.
Canal back and just see how what.
I know that she's pretty free this summer, so we might have her guest
That'd
in
be
an episode or
insane
two.
to see Canal again, man.
Yeah,
That'd be so cool.
I'll talk to her about it. I'm worried that her internet we're trying to run two people
Oh,
on Discord at once would not
Oh,
be great.
We just got
yeah.
Abby's fixed, dude.
Yeah.
Abby's has finally gotten
But
to a good point.
I'll text her after this actually and see if she'd be interested in coming on. But yeah, there's your answer.
So basically, Thea is into tieflings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I
think,
gather.
I think Tieflings
I think if
is
I
her
honestly
most
think
into thing.
I think the next character Abby makes is probably going to be a tiefling, just by what I've kind of seen from what she just likes
Yeah,
in the game.
That's fair.
it's a fun.
Which
fun
tieflings
thing.
are cool.
We don't also like. We also haven't had a. I don't want to say like a love story in the game because like Zygon and his wife, but like that's a connection that's already happened and they're just reconnecting. We haven't seen a love story form and
Well,
then happen.
to be completely
technically.
honest, it's because all of our well our we have so many male players that it's just like um,
If
and
we talked about
to
this
my
the other night.
knowledge, all of our I think I don't know for sure. Anyway,
I
but
wish
yeah,
I would have
we just don't
played.
have a lot of
I wish I
interpersonal.
would have played like a half elf or something so that I could be playing more of an open character to relationship, whether it's guys or girls. It would have been
I
a
think it's
cool
really
thing.
interesting. We can kind of go into theory craft here. I when people make characters, I don't think they think about them because most D&D campaign, like most D&D groups, do not stick together for a year. Some of them, it's only a few sessions. So I don't think players think like, okay, what is my character gonna like? How is my character going to develop? So
Yeah,
I think that our characters are great. Um, I think everybody's growing, and I'm interested to see how people make characters for when we do the second campaign.
yeah,
Because then everybody will be a little bit more practiced and have a little bit more nuance, I think.
yeah, for sure. It'll be, and we might be able to get some people to make characters together so they come in with
I
character.
I 100% want my character to be either related or in a relationship with another character.
Yeah,
I think a brother sister um,
Or
character
just
pair would be
brother,
really cool.
brother
Or
would be
brother, yeah.
would be really cool.
cousins. I
Mhm.
mean,
Father,
I
daughter.
even thought about like a parent child relationship
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
because then like if the child dies, imagine
Would I
how the
kill a
player.
child off? Of
But
course.
Yes,
I mean,
Of
either
course.
way, if either the
either way,
parent
it's
or the
a massive
child dies, like that would be hard for everybody
yeah,
involved.
and you're most likely going to see them die in front of you in some
Yes.
horrific way.
If I
And
killed
also, I
them.
think, like again, we're going into theory craft. I think if you're a parent, like say you're like a human fighter and your daughter is another player character and she is also a human fighter because she looked up to you when she was a kid and she wants to do it. How do you as a parent justify your kid going on insane adventures?
Yeah.
You know, like I think that
Yeah.
would be super interesting. And like I think if there was like if you're going through a dungeon, the parent would be super overprotective and be like, "You
Hmm.
stay in the back. I'm right next to you. If
Or
you go anywhere in here, I am going to stop you." That sort of
Or
or
thing.
if it's
like
one of those
going into pubs and
yeah,
stuff like that,
that's
Yeah,
taverns.
what I was gonna say.
yeah,
Or you have a character who's like really hard, like one of those hardcore teacher type parents who is
yeah,
like, I've taught you to do this, you're going up
Mm.
front, you show me and
yeah,
prove to me
yeah.
you
The
can do the
opposite.
complete opposite.
Yeah,
Because
I
you
think that would.
see
I
that.
honestly think that would be a really fun dynamic. But also then, like a lot of our players have parent issues, and like imagine if Caleb was playing Thea's dad, and he was in the adventuring party. Can you imagine what their relationship would be like? I think
Man.
that'd be super interesting, but I also think it would kind of pull away from um, the dynamic too.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, let's jump back into this episode.
it's
Uh,
just really, we just need to do an episode where we just talk about theory
we'll
and like
probably start doing some
character
stuff this
creation, and
summer.
that'd be really fun.
But right now, the closest thing we have to that is actually relatively close. Technically, Anzu is Thea's uncle, and that is a newfound
I can say
relationship.
a whole thing about
They're,
that. That was shoehorned in by Hunter later
yeah,
on.
it
That wasn't
was.
designed initially.
But at the same time, it's kind of been cool to see him
I think it's
almost
developing
take a
well.
father. Well, he's kind of taking a father character place where Thea's
Kind
father
of.
hasn't done a great job. Even though Hunter's also playing Anzu, who is like a crazy old man who just does the most chaotic things. So, but we can get into that later for sure. Zach, what's our next topic?
Kind of want to talk about the whole contract with the mine in Whitestone, and kind of get your guys' feelings on that at the moment, because I know Jacob had a reaction
Dude,
when.
let me tell you. Okay, so as soon as he signed that contract, I was like, gone. You're not having that. Done. I had this planned for almost 6 months.
Yeah,
And I know that some people will be like, well, that's not giving your players like choice and everything.
I
No,
don't see it
you
that
had
bad.
choice. And honestly, like, if you can prove that the claim that they have is false, then you get that back. I mean, it's not super hard.
Okay, so I'll say this. I was a little upset when we got that note back in game, but the only reason that I was upset, I was like, shit, like Animas had plans with that money, and like he has no plans to do money with himself. Like he's not trying to become a rich character. He's not trying to gain all these items, because his storyline isn't really leading to a point where he would ever need to be using this money. Like he's trying to go back to the Shadowfell, and after that, if he freezes people, like that's he doesn't need like all this money. So, but as it kind of progressed, I was like, I never was really like mad at Jacob. I was just like upset that Animus did not have money to be putting into the guild. I think it's a really cool story that's now panning out, where now we have like a sub story going on where we have to go and kind of take back ownership of this mine, and it also ties into how the government is corrupt right now. The government in Taldore is being corrupted in major cities, and Amon has government all over the place. We have some allies there. Amon's too big of a city to be able to like to kind of have like one government that is completely corrupt. It's all over the place. Some people are corrupt, some people aren't. You've got the clasp, you've got other guilds. It's a big ownership. But we've got Western, we've got Whitestone that Western's definitely one of the corrupt governments. That's our first place that we're trying to get to. Whitestone, we don't fully know. So going back to Whitestone and meeting Vesper was a really big part of us now moving forward, because that conversation Zygon had with her was basically like eye-opening to the fact that either she's behind something, which is what I would guess as Animus. Animus right now, I'll just say Animus as of right now believes Vesper is at least part of something. But I also am not ruling out that there's middlemen. There's definitely middlemen. There's always got to be someone else that's part of it, because it can't just be her on her own. Whether this is actually Vesper or not, like, we don't even know. Is this really Vesper, or is this like a clone or some sort of thing that's controlling her or something like that?
That's the route I kind of took, kind of as a viewer, is that, you know, I think one of the Vespers you have had contact with over the campaign is not necessarily the real Vesper.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about it as more of like a Barty Crouch Jr. from Harry Potter kind of deal going on.
Yeah. So I'll also say this. And Jacob, you can correct me if I'm off on this. The first Vesper we had contact with was 100% Vesper. I don't think that is something that we can. I'm not. Never mind. It is Vesper. The first Vesper was Vesper.
Well, what I will say is that, you know, people change.
Don't take that away from us, though. Don't take away the fact that
I'm not going to take away your wonderful little theories.
No. The first Vesper was Vesper, and whether this one is still the same Vesper, I'm not saying it's not the same Vesper.
Well, okay, here's what I'm saying. Why do you think that the Vesper that you saw is different than the one that you met initially?
I haven't met her. I don't know. I just am assuming, like I said.
Well, yeah, from what you know, from what Zygon said,
I think Vesper is slightly part of this, because for whatever reason, whether it's for keeping her people safe because she's seeing that other governments are turning toward like what Western's doing, and this kind of turning toward the calamity without knowing it. She's trying to keep her own people safe. She's trying to modernize. She's trying to bring her city into a place where it is powerful and it is still keeping up with the rest of the world, and if it needs to, it's ready to fight against whatever is going to get thrown at it. And with the mine, whether she's taken the mine away from us for, like, in her own accord, or if it was something that happened to do with a middle party, whether it was the dwarves or another group or character that forged those documents, I think she is just doing what she needs to do for her city, and maybe she's kind of skewing her mind while she goes, or she's just doing what she's doing for her city and she's making changes that she wants to make, and she's not part of the whole thing, and we're just seeing this completely wrong. So
it could just be a big miscommunication.
It really could. That's what
bureaucracy, paperwork, man, it goes crazy. And you also got to think of how many, like, you've made class members mad, you've made former government people mad, you've made whoever was connected with was it Tabitha? No,
yeah, Tabitha.
Yeah, whoever was connected with her. The Five.
That was the class. The class was connected with
Tabitha. Yeah, but she was also a warlock.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I'll take from the contract thing is it was such a small moment, and we talked about this after the fact. After the episode ended, I was like, way back when we had that episode where me and Zygon went to these dwarves, and Animas and Zygon signed these documents. I think Zygon was in there for a sec, and then he walked out. But he was there for the contract, and I gave him the original contract. That is such a small part of a campaign. And we just it was the end of an episode. We just kind of dusted it off. We were like, okay, Animus and Zygon, they signed a contract together, and now they have part ownership with some dwarves with a mine. You don't think that's going to come back and be a major part. Because if I had not given him, and he had not asked for the original document, our current situation would probably be me and Zygon being a little bit more aggressive towards each other and not as trustworthy. But because he had that original document from however many,
year ago,
yeah,
roughly.
it was probably 40 episodes ago. That is just such a small thing that ended up being such a major point that could have put us weeks back from trusting each other in a time where we only have 3 months. Like me and Zygon could have no trust out like in real world. That could look be me and Brady going against each other character wise for the next 5 months, 6 months. But because he had that, it was such a big part of like being like, okay, there is something going wrong here, and we can now go back to our group and say, hey, we think there is something going on in Whitestone, and maybe Vesper's part of it. Maybe she's just changing for the better of her people, or maybe she's kind of being taken advantage of, and she's kind of almost a like just scared for her people and doing what she's doing to kind of keep them safe and keep herself safe. So there's multiple things that could be happening, but Whitestone is part of it no matter what. Whether it's Vesper, whether it's Western, whether it's one of the five, Whitestone is part of this puzzle now. So yeah, and of course the mine, we're going to try to come back, because if we can take ownership of the mine within the next few weeks, because that'll be in the next 3 weeks, that's when she told us to come back, we'll have a good amount of money coming in. We're not going to take all the money from Whitestone. We don't want to do that, but we want part ownership and have money coming into our guild as well to be able to start making allies, paying people to kind of help us build as well, because we have a few huge fights coming up, and we can't do it with 6 people. No matter what you think in a campaign, if you're doing a campaign and you have 6 people that can take out entire country, I don't, it doesn't feel realistic. It doesn't,
like level 25s or something. They're like epic.
They're like gods at that point. It doesn't feel realistic. It doesn't feel as good if you're just able to beat an entire country. It feels better to like go behind and like make alliances and have other people help you, and there's loss, there's gain. It's all that kind of stuff. It's exciting, and that's what I really liked, that one little contract moment where Zygon figured out some stuff made a huge difference in how we're going to move forward now, because it could have been completely different if he had not had that. And I would also like to say, mid-game, no one remembered it except for myself. I interjected, and this is kind of a moment for anyone to take into their own games. I interjected, I said, hey, I have some information that I believe Zygon would remember, but I don't want to metagame. And I told Jacob, like, would Zygon remember that he has the original contract? Because that's such a small thing that none of us remembered until I was sitting there. I was like, okay, he would probably remember that as character. Jacob allowed it to happen because Zygon, knowing that would be a major thing that was happening in that moment, would probably have remembered that he had the original contract. So that's just something you can always ask your DM. If he says no, then Brady now has to play Zygon as a character who doesn't know he has the contract and now distrusts Animas, even though he knows Animas is innocent in that situation. So really cool, though, really fun moment. And then mind was blown from there. I just had some big mind blown moments. So
yeah, I'm interested to see what Zach's questions are, if he has any more.
That's all I got.
Oh man, Jacob, what are your thoughts on the whole thing that's happening with Braun and the child? Well, hold on.
Jacob, you haven't been on the last couple episodes, so I haven't been able to ask you those kinds of things.
Some more story stuff.
Yeah.
How about I ask Zach first, as a viewer?
Okay.
So number one, Braun, stoic character, very much not. You wouldn't think of him as a nurturing type. He's a very stoic, strong, able-minded character. He's now a dad recently. Within the past couple episodes, he has a dragon child. Yeah, he's kind of a dad. He's got a child that he's looking after. He's taken the father role of this dragon child, who is basically one of the moments of the calamity. This dragon child is a prophecy part of the calamity. So, like, what are your views on like how Braun's now like being a father and like the way he's acting and all that kind of stuff?
I think it's going to be very testing for Braun, and it will expand, I guess, kind of his story a little bit and kind of dig into his personality a little bit more than what we've seen so far. Because, like, so far, all we've seen from Braun is this kind of low-key, badass fighter, basically. Like, that's kind of all he's been. and now getting thrust in this situation. It's very, I find it very entertaining.
Yeah, I got a little bit emotional when there was a moment where like Hunter kind of changed the music perfectly. And had like him having that conversation where he's like, "Listen, we're gonna have to leave you here," and Jacob playing the child really well. I thought
Yeah.
it was a really cool emotional moment. I was like, man, this is one of those moments where you're like, this role play really solid. Even though Braun wasn't playing like super deeply emotionally, it's still just one of those things where it's like he still was playing a father figure. He still was doing
And I
playing
think
that
he's
role.
not wanting, like, I don't think Braun likes showing emotion because he wants other people to feel safe, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But Caleb, my Venmo has sent you money for that amazing compliment. Thank you so much. I'm not really gonna send you money. Anyway.
Can you send me money?
It was set up.
Caleb was supposed to be doing that for your hosting fees. I don't
Yeah.
know about that.
What?
Yeah, but you co-signed on it, so.
Oh man. Okay. So anyway, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of interested to see, first of all, like what Braun does after the child is left, if he's actually upset, because like, I don't know. I'm interested to see how he does that. The child kind of being out of the picture for a little while, because like. One big reason, just from a gameplay perspective, is you guys can't have like a walking nuclear bomb with you at all times.
So we
like,
need to get rid of Anzu, is what you're saying.
Well, yeah, but that one can explode.
That's not a nuclear bomb. That's just a normal bomb.
Man, evocation wizards are so annoying because
They're
all the
powerful,
drawbacks of evocation spells are negated by their abilities. Anyway,
the Dragon Child's a literal god, so that's a different situation.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily a god.
Deity
like
powers, but not a real god.
Yeah, maybe not yet. But yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see. I just kind of want Braun to open up more to the group, and I'm wondering if that will be a thing coming future, because now he's got that curse that he's got to deal with too. So we'll see what he does there. But yeah, I thought Michael was enjoying the role play there, and we'll see what comes of it.
Yeah, I think that's what we're all kind of looking forward to, is kind of seeing what he's going to be doing in that situation, and also just like kind of how the Dragon Child's going to take it when they actually are left alone. Are they going to follow Bahamut, which is technically their real father, or are they going to fall into what we are absolutely terrified of happening, the human and mortal world? Are they going to gain the same negative thoughts and negative effects of the human world and stuff? So yeah, gonna be interesting to see what happens. I think the other thing, we already talked to Corey about.
You got it.
We already talked to Corey about what's happening with the monk and everything. We had a good conversation about that. I think we don't really need to get too far into that this week. Just kind of see how he plays it, how he whether he does actually want to become a monk. I think he's playing towards doing that, and I think it's gonna be really cool to see Lochner's character have to shift and change in that regard. Other than that, I think we've touched on everything for the most part. Yeah, Anzu and Thea's got that kind of like relationship really continuously growing. We've got day 2 of our 2-day like time period coming out next week. I know Brady was going to have a conversation with his wife. I think we're just going to go back and either recap that, or they're going to have that, because Brady won't be here next week, unfortunately. But we're going to either go back and recap that because Jacob and him will do that off screen, or we'll play that at the very beginning in 2 weeks. So just depending on how far we get next week. We've got a couple things coming up. We'll definitely have to discuss the Whitestone thing. I don't know if anyone's going to want to be doing that in this next day. I think Thea wants to go train with Braun. I don't know what Anzu wants to do. I think he has some stuff planned. But I know Animas and Zygon are not really skipping a beat. They're not really trying to take this time off. I think it's kind of like Animas is definitely taking it more serious. He knows he's been doing it his whole quest. It's not something he really enjoys doing, and I know Zygon wants to talk to his wife because it's going to be difficult, even more so than ever, for him to be like, hey, now like this is getting a lot more serious. Like someone could get really hurt, and I don't want that to be you or my daughter, in Zygon's own look. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you guys for getting on tonight, having this conversation. Definitely excited to play it out next week. Thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode. We will be back this Sunday with episode 15, also day 2 of this 2-day thing. And then if you guys want to watch, we've got recaps going up every week just like this one. Just make sure to check us out Wednesday nights on Twitch or go over to our YouTube. I am uploading them as fast as I can as we go. Also, I'm going to try to get the one-shots out a little bit quicker now that we're bringing back Sheldon and everything. That probably would be a cool thing to do. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it.
And hopefully we're going to be expanding our content in the near future.
Yeah, we're trying to get some stuff done over the summer.
We're brainstorming some stuff we think you guys will like.
If Baldur's Gate gets an update, that'd be cool. They got druids now, but
there's a new D&D game coming out too.
There is, yeah, new D&D game. There's a dragon fighting game that just came out.
We can do Magic Legends. That's kind of tangential.
We've got ideas. Just check us out. Check out our. We might throw some stuff just on YouTube or just check out our Twitch. We'll see. Stuff will come out, but we'll probably shout it out on our episodes if that happens. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.